I have seen many a done peel, but somebody like you I've never seen before. That's why it's such a pity that you have to die.
You know, I really have nothing against the Barbaroi personally. It's a shame I'll have to kill so many of you.
Welcome to Hamburgers and Horror, the home of meat, monsters, and Meyer Link. I'm Noah Hook, and today we're looking at Vampire Hunter D: Bloodlust. That's right, baby, we're finally covering an anime on the channel. This action horror anime film from 2000 takes place in a distant post-apocalyptic future where vampires and other dangerous creatures live amongst humans. When the daughter of a wealthy businessman is kidnapped by a vampire, they seek out the services of the most skilled vampire hunter around. The half-human, half-vampire hunter, simply named D, heads off to face a variety of monsters standing in his way, all while competing with rival mercenaries and his own conscience. Bloodlust was written, directed, and storyboarded by Yoshiaki Kawajiri, a Japanese writer, director, storyboard artist, and animator. He's one of the co-founders of Madhouse Anime Studio, with a career in animation spanning back to the 1960s. Kawajiri has brought us films like Ninja Scroll, Wicked City, and Batman Gotham Knight, and he's probably worked on some of your favorite Marvel properties as well. Bloodlust is actually a sequel to the 1985 film Vampire Hunter D, both of which are based on the manga series of the same name by Hideyuki Kikuchi. I usually don't cover sequels before looking at originals on the channel, but these two are pretty much their own thing based on different stories and entirely different books, so I let it slide for this one. The story of Vampire Hunter D: Bloodlust is based on the third novel in Kikuchi's series, D: Demon Death Case. The main character's design is by artist Yoshitaka Amano. Amano's art style was matched for the rest of the characters in the film by animation director Yutaka Minawa. The film was originally written and animated in English, although a Japanese version was released right alongside it. This means there are double the voice actors for each character, but for the sake of keeping the video kind of short, I'm going to stick to the English-speaking actors because it was technically the first that came along. The film stars Andy Philpott from Reign the Conqueror and Final Fantasy XII as D, John Rafter Lee from the Spawn TV series as Meyer Link, Pamela Adlon from King of the Hill as Layla. That's right, fuckers, we got Bobby Hill in the house.
That's my purse! I don't know you!
Wendy Lee from Cowboy Bebop as Charlotte, and Mike McShane from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves as Dee's left hand. We'll get to it. Bloodlust premiered in the US in a small handful of theaters, although it had a bigger release in Japan. The film was met positively in both countries though, being praised for its nightmarish style, gorgeous animation, crisp action, and enough bloodlust to live up to its title. It currently has a 70 and 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, as well as an impressive 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, so it's clear the film still has lots of love. Thank you so much to my patron Ben Bishop for requesting Vampire Hunter D: Bloodlust for me to review. I've known about the film for a long time, but haven't gotten around to watching it until now, so I'm really excited to share my first thoughts on it here. But with all of that said, it's probably time we get started. Better stay out of the sun, folks, because we're watching Vampire Hunter D: Bloodlust. The movie opens by explaining that we're witnessing the distant future in the year 12,090 AD. Many years ago, the world burned up in a nuclear holocaust and vampires emerged as the dominant race. They've ruled the night for centuries, but their numbers are now dwindling due to a class of elite bounty hunters who have been eliminating them. One hunter is unlike all of the others though. He is a Dunpeel, half human, half vampire. He's at war with his own kind, feared by all, tortured and alone. He is Vampire Hunter D. It's in the title. We enter a spooky gothic city filled with barking dogs, stone houses, and many crucifixes. But a new presence in the city causes the dogs to cower, the crosses to contort, and the water to freeze as it passes through in its carriage. This currently unseen figure is the vampire baron Meyer Link, who has made his way to the bedroom of Charlotte Elborn. He blows through her window and sweeps the young woman away into the night. Now we meet the titular D, who has been summoned by Charlotte's father and brother, John and Alan Elborn. Their snipers look on as they explain that Charlotte has been kidnapped by Meyer Link, and when they attempted to rescue her, Link killed 50 of their men. The Elborns give a down payment, promising $20 million in exchange for her rescue. D acknowledges that Charlotte may be transformed when he finds her, and while Alan can't bear the idea, John understands that she must be killed if that is the case. They tell D to make haste, as they've also hired a mercenary group known as the Marcus Company to track down Link as well. Speaking of, the Marcus Company has just come across a whole village worth of the undead that Link left in his wake. Their fortified Jesus-mobile manages to plow through them until a giant cross is used to block their path, so the group emerges to kill the zombies by hand. The group consists of 5 members, all but one of whom are siblings. There's crossbow-wielding leader Borgoff, hulking muscle man Nolt, blade master Kyle, frail bedridden psychic Grove, and a vengeful woman named Layla. Layla's the one who is not a sibling. Borgoff rains arrows down on the ghouls, Nolt smushes them with his hammer, Kyle cuts them to ribbons, and Layla blows them away. Grove sits this one out. Borgoff hears something coming their way and tries to snipe it, only for D to emerge and catch the arrow with his bare hand.
Beautiful, just beautiful. I applaud you, stranger. Tell me what you're doing here. If we're in the same game, we should be friends.
Borgoff fucking loves that shit and introduces himself, but the rest of the team is cautious to get buddy-buddy with their competition. D rides off into the next day, and his left hand warns him to watch out for heat syndrome, a condition common in Dunpeals when they take in too much sunlight. Yeah, D's left hand has a face and can talk and can do some magic stuff we'll see in a bit. Do with that what you will. Left Hand is also a master tracker, and he determines that Link's tracks are about 6 hours old. They hear a rumbling in the desert, which turns out to be a pod of humongous sand mantas, which D rides across before they continue on the trail through a variety of beautiful landscapes. They come across what they refer to as a resting house, which seems to be some kind of magic hideaway designed to blend in with its environment. D uses a handful of pebbles to distract its laser eyes, and Left Hand confirms that there is a man and woman inside. Meyer begins to awaken as the sun sets, and Layla, who went racing off after D last night, comes zooming through the forest. She races through the laser blasts and launches a missile at Meyer as he tries to escape, but the vampire simply uses his wing to deflect the blast back at her. D quickly catches up with Meyer, who tells the Dunpeel he'd be a fool to challenge him at night.
Taking on a vampire at night is a mission for morons and fools. Which are you?
He also tells D that Charlotte has joined him of her own free will.
I would if I could believe you, Meyer. Your credibility, however, is less than impeccable under the circumstances.
And when she calls out to Meyer's name, he believes it to be true. Meyer gets away for now, so D returns to Layla and bandages her wounds. Layla is not grateful for the help, and D rides off as the Marcus brothers finally catch up. As Meyer makes his getaway, he wonders who will mourn the vampires when the last one is extinguished. Oh, that's sad. The Marcus Company are heading to Barbaroy, where they believe Meyer is fleeing to. Apparently it's filled with lunatics, monsters, and an old crazy guy. Can't wait to meet him. They find Meyer's carriage waiting for them, so Borgoff, Kyle, and Nolt head out to investigate. The trio attacks the carriage only for it to dissipate into cloth. A delighted voice welcomes the arrogant men to Barbaroy, but says that this will be as far as they go. A figure emerges from Nolt's shadow and stabs it, which seems to stab the real Nolt as well. He tries to smash him with his hammer, but the figure disappears, and he warns his brothers to watch out for the shadows before literally dying on his feet. Dee is also making his way into Barbaroy, and a variety of creatures watch as he is permitted to enter their gates. Dee is greeted by the Elder Barbaroy and requests that they stop protecting Link. The Elder laughs at this request, sharing that they were paid $100 million to protect the vampire. The Barbaroy are greatly indebted to Dracula, and they have served the people of the night for 5,000 years, and they don't plan to stop now. Oh my god, I love his little unicycle. The Elder tells Dee they have to kill him, and the Barbaroy surround him. Fortunately, the Marcus Bros are nearby, and they plan to use Grove's psychic ability to fight the Horde. Nobody really explains it, but basically they induce him with a seizure, which allows Grove to take on a spirit form that can fly and blast enemies with mystical energy. Bro fucking demolishes the Barbaroy, but it clearly does a number on his physical form as well. He chases the carriage as it flees, but a powerful Barbaroy named Bengi swallows up the attacks. Bengi is the one who killed Nolt, and he is able to move through shadows and create voids with them. Dee slices Grove's apparition in half, and the Marcus Bros get moving. Bengi fucking murders Dee's horse and sucks him into a void, and another Barbaroy named Caroline takes on the Marcus Mobile. She's a shapeshifter and uses her ability to liquefy into the truck before hardening and protruding a bunch of spikes throughout. Nobody is fatally injured, but the truck has been stopped in its tracks. Left Hand is able to swallow up Bengi's spell so Dee can break free, and Kyle uses himself as bait to draw the creature out. Bengi tries to escape, but the brothers ultimately avenge Nolt by getting him in the daylight and slicing him up for good. The truck's gas tank got shot to shit, so Layla and Kyle head off to a nearby town to get more while Orgoff fixes the truck. Meanwhile, a coffin-clad Meyer reads an invitation from somebody offering safety. Dee and Left Hand are now traversing a desert on foot, and Layla spots them as they're coming in the town. Desperate to get Dee off their tails, she warns the local sheriff that a Dunpeel is coming into town. Dee buys a horse from an old man, but the sheriff and some deputies tell him Dunpeels can't do business here. The old man pulls a weapon of his own on the sheriff, recounting a time many years ago when the town hired a Dunpeel to save some children who were taken by vampires. The Dunpeel saved every child and returned them home, but once he had, the town turned on him and ran him out. Turns out this old man was one of those kids. He apologizes to Dee for the ignorance of some men and thanks the Dunpeel for saving him as he rides away. Sucks to suck, Layla. We rejoin Meyer's carriage, which is guarded by Caroline and a third Barbaroy named Mashira. Charlotte steps out to enjoy the sunlight, but as she's exploring some ruins, she's greeted by Dee. She confirms that she's in love with Meyer and left by choice, declaring that she'd rather be killed than taken back alive. Layla emerges and mocks her supposed love, asking if she has any idea how many people Meyer has killed. She also draws her gun on Dee, not wanting to share the profits of her reward. This just gets her wrecked by Caroline, and Mashira takes Charlotte back. Dee takes on the shapeshifter, but quickly loses steam due to heat syndrome. He barely dodges Caroline's attacks and is able to use the last of his power to behead her. He crawls away to bury himself until nightfall, although it looks like Caroline ain't quite dead. Useless ass Layla fills the boys in on Meyer's location, but she tells them she hasn't seen the Dunpeel lately. A thunderstorm rolls in as Layla is attacked by Caroline, but due to some cosmic fate, the shapeshifter somehow gets struck by lightning and is killed for good. Layla still doesn't trust Dee, but opts to use his hiding spot to get out of the rain as well. Dee has a good idea of why Layla hates him so much, guessing that her family was killed by vampires. And that's right on the money. Her mother was kidnapped and transformed, and her father was killed when he tried to rescue her. Mom did come back, but because she was a vampire, the town stoned her to death right in front of her. She met the Marcus brothers and joined their cause, hoping she'd one day avenge her parents. They discuss the lonely life that comes with being a hunter, and make a pact to bring flowers to the grave of whichever of them dies first. Oh, well, that's nice, I guess. Dee does point out that she could go live a life if she chose, while being a Dunpeel means he'll never have the chance to live normally. The rain clears and the two head their sort of separate ways, while Kyle and Borgoff spot the carriage. They realize Meyer is heading to the castle of Chaith, which is a place they do not want to visit. They plan to intercept the carriage on a huge bridge, which they blow up using explosives. Mashira is a werewolf, which apparently means he has X-ray vision to spot all of the other explosives, but he is sniped with an arrow before he can stop Kyle from grabbing Charlotte. Down he goes! Meyer emerges despite the sun still setting, refusing to let them take her.
I won't let you take her!
Borgoff blasts him away with arrows, and the brothers laugh as he limps his way towards Charlotte. She breaks free and embraces Meyer, removing one of the arrows so she can kill herself alongside him. Whether she's dead or alive makes no difference to the bros, but before Kyle can toss his blade, he gets fucking murked by Mashira. Oh shit, he's a werewolf with a werewolf tummy. That's fun. He slashes one of Borgoff's eyes, who leaps off the bridge as he detonates the bombs. Too bad Mashira removed them all, huh, Borgoff? Layla witnesses this from afar and races towards them, but the sun sets and Meyer once again escapes. He tells Charlotte his plan for them to flee to the City of the Night, a place he says they will be free to love each other. He does get tempted to suck some of that juicy, delicious blood, but he does stop himself. Borgoff did survive his plunge and charges forward, although Grove believes they should call it quits. Neither he nor Layla have any intention of giving up though. Mashira can hear Dee approaching and stays back to battle him, allowing Meyer and Charlotte to reach the castle. Left Hand fills us in on the castle of Chaith, which is the home of vampire countess Carmilla. She had a 5,000-year reign of terror until Dee's father, the Vampire King, grew tired of her bloodlust and murdered her. Now she haunts the castle. Meyer arrives at the spooky-ass castle, and Dee swiftly defeats Mashira. He confirms it was Carmilla who paid the Barbaroi to protect Meyer before dying, though. Carmilla greets her guests, noting that she isn't the murderous monster she's rumored to be. Alright, well, we'll see about that. She unveils a spaceship that will take them to the City of the Night, which is a vampire refuge located in space. Basically, it's a giant space station that stays in the Earth's shadow, constantly avoiding the sun. There was a time when vampire ships filled the skies and they were able to love freely, but now their numbers dwindle and they are all alone. She is happy to help a pair who seems to have beaten the odds. Meyer once again stops himself from biting her, but Charlotte wants to truly know him by becoming a vampire as well. He doesn't wish for her to live an eternal life in darkness, thirsting for blood though. She says all they have is each other now and insists he changes her, but for now Meyer has some business to take care of. He flies down to battle Dee, only for the Dunpeel to reveal that Charlotte wants to go home. He can't believe it, and before he can react, he gets sliced in half. This was just a vision though, and Charlotte sees a vision of her own, following Meyer up a big red staircase. The real Dee enters the castle with Borgoff and Layla not far behind. Borgoff comes across 2 coffins that his brothers emerge from, but of course they are simply apparitions. The distraught brother is stabbed in the back by his own arrows. Layla encounters a vision of her childhood self, and Dee encounters Carmilla. The Countess apologizes to Dee for their troubled family history, but he sees through her ploy. He also rescues Layla from a falling chandelier, telling her Carmilla is playing mind games. Borgoff emerges as a shiny new vampire, and he demands that Dee drop his weapon if he doesn't want Layla turned as well. Deus Ex Grovina pops in though, using the last of his power to take out Borgoff and himself. The plot giveth and the plot taketh away. Still under Carmilla's spell, Charlotte allows herself to be bitten and transformed. On top of that, she uses Charlotte's blood to revive her physical body. Uh-oh. She confronts Dee, shaming him for turning his back on his vampire ancestry and participating in their own extinction. Dee says it is time for vampires to disappear, as nothing lasts forever. Carmilla's spirit electrocutes him while her physical form awakens. Dee fights back though, managing to stab the spirit. This weakens the real Carmilla, who rushes towards Charlotte for more blood. Unfortunately for her, Meyer has healed and slashes her as well, killing her for good. Carmilla's spirit asks where Dee's power comes from, but Left Hand sucks her away to oblivion. Meyer and Charlotte embrace, and they celebrate the chance that their love may actually be able to flourish after all. This heartfelt moment is enough to stop Layla from pulling the trigger, but Dee is not so soft. He and Meyer face off for the final time, while Layla declares that she has had enough of killing. Dee overpowers Meyer and stabs him, but purposefully misses his heart. He collects Charlotte's ring, declaring that it will be enough proof that she is dead. Ah, Dee is a softie after all. Meyer and Charlotte head to space as the castle crumbles, and Layla hitches a ride in exchange for the reward money. She wishes the vampires luck on their journey to freedom, and the two watch as they disappear into the stars. Many years pass, and we join Layla's family at her funeral. A young girl who turns out to be Layla's granddaughter spots Dee from a distance, and she asks if he knew her. She recognizes him from her stories and invites Dee to their home, but Dee says he simply came to keep a promise. But seeing how Layla was so loved, there is no need for him to put flowers on her grave. He thanks the girl for her kindness, and she thanks him for coming, and the movie ends with Dee riding off to start another murderous adventure. And that's Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. Oof, this was a really good choice to be the first anime I cover on the channel. I don't even know where to start aside from the fact that I loved this film. Let me start with the obvious strengths, which are the visuals. Every single scene is flush with super detailed drawings that have been animated so fluidly, and on top of that, the story keeps finding really unique ideas to show off with. Each character has a distinct look, personality, and fighting style, and the same goes for the various locations seen in the film. Dee and the others move through medieval towns living off primitive techniques, gothic cities seemingly cloaked in darkness, vast deserts with humongous flying manta rays, and giant forests with trees the size of skyscrapers, all built around ancient satellites and military bases from thousands of years ago. I do want to note that this film is pretty hard to get a digital copy of in the States right now, so the version I used is actually something I just found on YouTube, so I'm really going to be looking forward to seeing a version that's not like 720 pixels, so I can really enjoy the beautiful animation. But hey, let's hope this shitty version avoids copyright, huh? This world is simultaneously futuristic and archaic, with people traveling via horse and buggy and giant armored vehicle. They battle with swords, magic, and guns, often using really cool combinations of each. The story feels somewhere between a Middle-earth epic and a neo-western, as we get a grand scope of a mysterious new world full of enemies. I especially love the Barbaroi and their familiar but still unique abilities. I also love anime plots, but also plots that are across genres that involve gauntlets or a series of 1v1 battles to the death. A particular example from my childhood is the Sasuke retrieval arc from Naruto, and I'd be shocked if this didn't provide some inspiration for that story. D works really well as our mysterious protagonist. He keeps his cards close to his chest. Unlike a lot of anime, we don't hear his inner dialogue, so he really is a mystery to us. Left Hand makes for a very fun sidekick, and I love that the film makes absolutely zero effort into explaining what the fuck he is and why he's attached to D. The story of a Dunpeel vampire hunter or a Dhampir or Daywalker, something like Blade for example, is pretty familiar, as is the idea of him going after a damsel in distress. But it's from those familiar bases that the story then branches off into some very exciting, new, unique areas. I do wish the final boss Carmilla was a bit more fleshed out, or she at least got to wreak a little more havoc before being defeated. The same could be said for the Marcus brothers. I could barely tell they were related due to the lack of emotion surrounding their deaths. It could also be fair to say that D isn't really fleshed out aside from his own inner turmoil around killing his own species, but that also comes down to the fact that this is also a sequel. I'd say he has more of an introduction. You get to know him a bit better in the 1985 film, so if you want to understand his motives a bit more, that should definitely be where you start. But that's not to say he doesn't have some nice moments, especially when he's talking with Layla. She's definitely the one to get the most development here, as her initial hatred is understandable, but it's great to see her open up to both D and the love between Meyer and Charlotte. Speaking of, I'm glad that this was actually a love story. I did not expect that aspect of it here. I also think that they could have been fleshed out a teensy bit more. They're just on the run so much in the film and off screen. A couple more scenes of them together might have been helpful to build up their relationship. But even with their angle a bit more subtle and left in the shadows, the two do strike a chord as lovers on the run. But even with a couple slightly underdeveloped characters, there is so much going on visually and plot-wise that it's very hard to even notice that. You're busy taking in so much from the screen. It's a very busy movie. Like, you're never gonna be bored watching this thing. It's always changing. All in all, Bloodlust is a must-see for anybody that enjoys vampire films or anime, but also westerns, action movies, love stories, road movies, fantasies, and of course horror movies. This film fits into so many categories and breaks so many of those molds, creating such a lush, beautiful world. I was reminded of some of my favorite creative minds like Miyazaki and Kojima, and even a little Miike in there, all of whom bridged their Japanese heritage with Western influences to create bizarre and incredible stories. I don't know if I'd put it at the tippy top of my anime list with things like Akira and Spirited Away, but I'm being very genuine when I say it's not far behind. This is not a case where you should go in expecting a scary horror movie. It's much more of an action-adventure film, but you can expect a really great story that will really envelop you into it. I really enjoyed this watch, and I'll definitely be watching Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust in the near future. Well, that's about it. Thank you again to my patron Ben for requesting this for me to review. This was so much fun to cover. I'm really looking forward to my next opportunity to cover an anime on the channel. What are some of your favorite horror animes? Let me know down below. Also, have any of you guys seen Attack on Titan? I just finished it and would love to chat about it, so let me know. And also let me know what you thought of this film down below. Come on, comment. And be sure to join me in 2 weeks as we check out another exciting patron request. They always keep me guessing. Well, thank you all so much for joining me, and an extra thank you to my patrons. As always, I'm Noah Hook, and thanks for watching Hamburgers and Horror. Stay safe out there. Thanks for watching my review of Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe so you can keep up with all my horror reviews. And if you want to help support this channel further, you should check out my Patreon account. You'll be able to vote for future movies and franchises I cover on the channel. Thanks, y'all.